Oh, hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Welcome. Can you explain? So, what's your story? What symptoms have you had? What illness have you had? Can you explain to me?
Sure. Yeah. So I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 2009. I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school. And prior to my diagnosis of ulcerative colitis, I had C. difficile, which is a bacterial infection in my colon. They thought I had a urinary tract infection and they treated it with antibiotics. And the antibiotics caused the bacterial infection, which essentially caused my ulcerative colitis. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks in isolation. I became very skinny. They pumped me with tons and tons of steroids. Um, had a colonoscopy, and my whole entire colon was inflamed. He said it was possibly the worst 5 cases he had ever seen. So they were coming in, the doctors were coming in, seeing if I was going to be a candidate for surgery. And they said they wanted to hold out on surgery and just try meds first. And I responded really well to steroids at first. I started off with sulfasalazine. I was on that for a few years, never really went into remission. I've had it now for 12 years. I was in and out of flare ups for basically the entire time up until about 12 or 13 months ago, where I decided I wanted to take my life back. I decided to do my own research. All my doctors just kept pushing on medications towards me and let's try this medication, let's try that medication. And it got me to be in an okay place, but I was never where I was prior to getting sick. Then I found someone called the medical medium, and he vouches for celery juice in a plant-based diet. So my doctors had always told me that diet does not matter. And with a gut disease, you kind of think to yourself, how does it not? But I listened to my doctors, and as you should, right? They're the medical professionals. But I was always scared to eat fruits and vegetables. I was definitely nutrient deficient, always very weak, had a lot of brain fog, lost a ton of weight. And I started drinking celery juice every day for a year. This will be like 13 months for me. And it changed my life. It really did. I'm in the best remission I've ever been in. Again, 13 months. And I feel and look the best I ever had. And it's a good, yeah, I
That
feel
sounds
good.
great. Can you tell me though, was there any point at which you have seen any other causes for perhaps getting ulcerative colitis?
The causes of getting it, I really stem it from being misdiagnosed for my urinary tract infection coming from the bacterial infection. I think that's where it stems from.
Was
I
it
also think it triggered it. I think I had it in my system. I think I was genetically predisposed to it. My grandmother has colitis. Her sister also had colitis, and unfortunately passed away from colon cancer a few years ago. And then my mother had a bout of IBS when she was younger. So it does run in my family.
Okay, okay. And what about your stress levels? Do you think there was anything that contributed to that at all?
I had just started a new high school. I think that definitely triggered some stress in my life. At 14, everything is stressful, right? Your family stressing you out, school stressing you out, guys are stressing you out. So I definitely think stress plays a huge, huge part in flare-ups with colitis. I've learned how to control my stress pretty well. I also started going to acupuncture during my last flare-up, which I think significantly helped speed up the process of getting into remission. But you start stressing yourself out also when you start leaving the house. You get nervous about leaving the house and you're thinking about it. And we kind of add the stress to ourselves sometimes without even knowing it.
For those that don't understand, Can you explain why we have that stress of leaving?
Oh, yeah, I can explain it. So, um, I didn't during my last flare up lasted about a year and a half, a little less than a year and a half, but I didn't leave the house very much. You get nervous that you're not going to make it to a bathroom. I had about, I'm going to say 20 seconds to get to a restroom, or that was it for me. Um, I was lucky enough. I had a roommate at the time. She let me have the room with a bathroom in it. I don't think I would have made it from my bed to a bathroom in the hallway. I probably had about 15 bowel movements a day. Most of them were in the morning, but I would be in a severe amount of pain in the morning. I would be crying on the bathroom floor, praying to God to let this pain go away. I was in a very, very dark place. I would have to get to work by 8 a.m. and I would have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to work on time, because that's how long I would be in pain and in the bathroom, and going to the bathroom. It was, I think the urgency is the worst part of colitis. I don't know about for anybody else. But knowing that you're an adult and you might not make it to a restroom is a discouraging part of this disease. You almost either feel like a child or feel like an elderly person, because those are those 2 points in your life where that happens and it's okay. Um, but when you're a preteen or an adult, it's definitely looked down upon, but and you don't feel good about yourself when it happens.
And how about during those times in flares, did you find yourself restricting food and limiting it to certain times of the day? Were there anything that you were?
Yeah, so before this last flare up, diet did not matter to me. I ate whatever I want whenever I wanted. Because I was told to. I told that it may make my symptoms worse or better, but it won't actually heal my colitis. You're never going to heal your colitis, right? So then I said, all right, if I'm not going to heal, and some days I would eat really bad and I would feel fine. And then other days I would eat that exact same thing and I would feel terrible. And there was no rhyme or reason for it. I would make a diary of the things that I would write during my flare ups, and nothing made sense still. I could pinpoint some things, but not to a point where I'd be like, okay, put this out of my diet. Um, but while I was doing research going into my last flare up and traveling my way to remission, I decided to give my gut a break. I ate very bland. I ate very bland probably for about a month. I ate about 5 things. And a lot of them were pureed things like smoothies, trying to get nutrients in my body as well because I was just so weak. Um, but I definitely restricted my diet a lot. Now I do a fully plant-based diet. I eat a ton of fruits and vegetables. And in the States here, they have a lot of options for meat alternatives now, which has been really, really great. Um, but I've never felt better by eating a plant-based diet. A lot of my diet before remission was meat, was cheese, was dairy. I mean, all these inflammatory things that was just making my stomach worse. And I think it was actually making my condition worse throughout time. So
So have you struggled at all with keeping to this celery juice and the diet? Has there been any times when you've thought, oh, I'll go off and get some chocolate or whatever it is?
I at first starting so how I started the celery, I actually spoke to, and this is going to sound very bizarre, I spoke to a medium on the phone. I was in a very dark place. I was very, very depressed. And I was just looking for some answers. And she was the one who brought me to the medical medium. And I researched it. I researched how to start celery. I bought a juicer the next day. And it happened to be Thanksgiving week, and I couldn't make it home with my family in New York. I was living in California at the time. So I decided I'll start it on a 4-day weekend. I didn't know what type of adverse effects there might be, because we're told that vegetables can cause a lot of unnecessary symptoms, right? So I bought the juices the next day. I bought some celery and I just went for it. So I started out with about 4 ounces and I did that for a week. And then the following week, I started out with 8 ounces and I did that probably for about 2 weeks. And then once I was comfortable, I decided to move up to 16. So that's what's said to be the best route is 16 ounces of celery juice every morning on an empty stomach. Now, for me, the morning times are the worst. And I knew my body cannot digest food properly in the morning. So I decided to add intermittent fasting with my diet as well, which I think has been a huge thing for me, and my gut healing, because I'm giving my stomach time to digest all my food longer while I'm sleeping and early in the morning. And I eat at around like 11:30 in the morning, 11:30, 12 o'clock. But I've been so consistent because I told myself that I had to. I knew that I didn't want my life to revolve around colitis anymore. And that's all it's been. My whole life has been basically being sick, and being scared to live. I've been so scared to do so many things and I just didn't want to do it anymore. Um, so I told myself I had to, I didn't have a choice. So I woke up every morning, juiced my celery and drank it. You wait about 20 to 30 minutes before you eat your first meal. And after the first week, I started seeing some improvements, but nothing significant. I didn't really start seeing improvements till about month 3. And that seems like a long time. It seems like a long time to drink celery day in and day out and be like, I'm not getting better. I'm not getting better. Isn't this supposed to work? But I talked to other people that it took even longer for them. It depends on how bad your colitis is and how much healing your body needs. But I think why it didn't take as long, but took just the right amount of time in that 3 to 6 month period was because I incorporated a plant-based diet. I was fueling my body with anti-inflammatory foods, and doing it the right way. I wasn't eating raw fruits and vegetables. I was making smoothies with my fruits. I was really cooking my vegetables, and that was right for me.
Yeah.
But once I started seeing improvement at month 3, there was no turning back on the celery. I just kept feeling better and better and better. My bowel movement started going down. My urgency started going down. My cramping started going down. I would have cramps all day. They wouldn't stop. And once you see something working, you want to keep going. You want to keep healing. And it gives me more energy now. I still deal with some fatigue, I will say. I think that's just one of those lingering symptoms of colitis, and a little bit of brain fog, which I'm getting there, with the celery. But I have thought about cheating and maybe I won't do it today. But I tell myself that this is working. This is working and I never want it to not work. So that's why I keep doing it. And if I can substitute this celery one day for my medications that I'm taking, that's enough for me.
Yeah. And so, what about, I'm wondering if in this process, there was a determination to have this be the answer to a long-term problem, and whether there was a mindset within you that was determined to make this succeed for you.
There definitely was. I thought about, my long-term goals. One of my goals at the time while I was flaring, I was in graduate school, pursuing my doctorate in audiology. And I almost didn't graduate because I was just flaring so bad. But I had worked so hard already. I had, worked through school, through a flare up basically the entire time. And I knew that I wanted to just leave the house without worry. I remember writing 2020 aspirations, and one of them was just to live without worry. I think as people that are suffering with gut issues and IBD, we worry that this is going to be our entire lives.
Mm.
And I knew that I wanted better for myself. I knew that I wanted to, find somebody that I wanted to be with one day and start a family and have children. And I knew with a chronic illness like this and being so sick all the time that I didn't want to live that life. There was two roads that I can go down. One, that I was living with the chronic illness and being sick and not living every day to the fullest, or I could try this other route where maybe I can do whatever I want and feel good at the same time. Um, and I went that other route. I tried. I think when you're at rock bottom, you'll try anything.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where it was for me. I
Yeah.
was at rock bottom and I never really been there before. Um, and that's what celery juice gave me. It gave me my life back. So I think my motivation was taking my life back, and wanting to not only live a normal life, but the best life that I can live. I didn't want to just live, I wanted to fully live and make up for lost time. I think I've said no to so many opportunities because of my colitis that I knew that all I wanted to do when I got better was just say yes. So, and that's what I've been doing. This past weekend, I was able to go snowboarding, and that is something that I wouldn't imagine in a million years because there was no bathroom.
Yeah.
There's no bathroom on a mountain. And and after I went, I looked at myself and I'm like, this is a milestone. This is an amazing accomplishment for me because I was out all day for 6 hours and I didn't have to go to the bathroom and I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about having to go to the bathroom. And when you have gut issues, that's always on your mind.
Yeah.
So it felt really good to not have that on my mind.
Yeah, it is certainly very liberating, and you get to really fully appreciate life. Whereas maybe if you've not had health issues, you don't quite get to that understanding of how important it is just to live life again, is it? So for you right now, how is your health? Are you completely symptom free, or are there days where it's up and down? Or, how do you live today?
I am completely symptom free if I've ever felt it. I have one bowel movement a day,
Wow.
and they're pretty standard. So they're right on schedule. I wake up in the morning and I go to the bathroom. And like now I've almost trained my body. So and I've researched this as well. When you sit on the toilet at a certain time every day, your body starts to realize it. So you almost train yourself to do it. And that's what I've kind of done with my body. I make sure I wake up at the same time every day to get my blood flowing, get that bowel movement started. And I mean, I don't have any urgency. I'm able to actually hold in my bowel movements if I want to. I try not to because I don't want to affect my stomach anymore. But I could have never imagined going from 10 to 20 seconds to get to a bathroom to I was able to hold it in for 30 minutes in a car. I mean, that's just unheard of for me. Um, but I have no real cramping during the day. It would feel like there was food moving in my stomach before this, and now it doesn't. Um, but I live this is by far the most normal I have ever felt, in the
That's
12
quite
years I've
amazing.
had colitis. Yeah.
That is amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
congratulations. I'm
Thank you.
very, very pleased to hear it. I also just wanted to know, are you on any medication? Is there any medication that you take at all?
Yeah, so I'm on Xeljanz right now. I'm on a low dose medication. I am, I'm a firm believer that medication does help. But I think incorporating a healthy lifestyle and medication is the most powerful thing you can do. Not just relying on the medication to help you, but relying on yourself to help yourself,
Yeah.
right? Um, and just doing your own research on how you can heal yourself. And I'm hopeful that one day I will be totally off medication. I want to give myself a year or two I've never been in a remission this long. This is my longest remission. So I want to make sure that I'm stable enough to be able to get off medication and do it the right way. So if I'm in remission for 2 years, I'll give myself another year, then I will try to be off medication.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
that's just great news, and I'm really pleased for you. And the other thing I wanted to ask was about when you first started. I know you said there were no real changes in your gut, but did you notice any changes in your energy or your hair or your nails or your skin or anything like that in the first 3 months?
Yeah. So when I started the celery juice, I was on a high dose medication and my hair was falling out in clumps. And anybody that knows me knows my hair is one of the one of my top priorities, right? Some people love makeup, some people love shoes. I'm a hair person. But my hair was falling out in the chunks. And that was really depressing me, as silly as that sounds. When you have a chronic illness, it was. And it hurts your self-esteem. But my energy started to pick up when I started drinking the celery juice. I was so weak going into work, and my coworkers would see it. They would see how tired I looked. I had bags under my eyes. And I wasn't moving the way I was supposed to as a healthy 25-year-old woman.
Mhm.
Um, but I've definitely seen significant improvements the more my journey goes. This is a journey. This whole healing process is a real journey. It's not just going to be all the way up. There's going to be some step backs, and then you're going to have to go forward again. So I don't want it to seem like right when I started the celery it was all uphill from there. It was tough. It was very tough, and I did have some setbacks. Um but I just told myself that a short term loss. So, like, if I were to cheat, what is that going to do for my long term health? And that's what I tell myself every time I think about cheating with food or think about cheating with alcohol. I don't really drink alcohol very much because I have no one, I have no desire to, and two, I don't think it's helping my health. I have pumped so much medication into my body over the last decade that I worry about the long term effect of just that. So I'm trying to get the tools that I just fuel my body as best I can to help the 10 years that I've really done damage to it.
Great. And the other thing is, are there any other techniques that you have? So, in terms of stress management, what else do you use to help with your stress?
So I was doing the acupuncture for a while. But then when lockdown hit, I just definitely stopped going so much. I try to do yoga. I do a lot of deep breathing. I think people underestimate the power of breathing, but I do a lot of deep breathing during the day, just taking big inhales through the nose and out exhales through the mouth. I've seen improvements by that. I do it for like 5 or 10 minutes before I go to sleep at night, and I think that actually helps my digestion as well. Um, and I think just being open about my disease has really helped me over the years. I used to hide it so much when I first got diagnosed. And over my last flare up, I was so liberated just talking about it because I was so, I all dignity goes goes out the window at some point. So once you're okay with talking about your disease to others, it really does help your mental health. And I was lucky enough to have one person to confide in all the time, who was a close friend who unfortunately had to deal with colitis as well. But finding a person that you connect with this disease is huge. I think I'd be lost without her. And just having somebody to vent to. So I think just talking about your disease, finding things that you can relax. What relaxes you? Is it reading a book? Is it just laying down? Just not doing anything, which is okay. And I think sometimes when we're working so much, we don't think about how important it is to just do nothing. And that's really important in your healing journey as well, is to just do nothing sometimes. and just find things that make you happy, um, and do them as much as you can. So I think those were really how I dealt with stress during a flare up for sure.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for just letting me interview you, because I'm so pleased to meet people who are on seem to have gone through their journey and come out the other side and are just doing really well for it. It's just a really great news, and I hope long may it last. And I hope this is the end of your journey with
Oh,
colitis. And
Lord
I know
willing, I
it's
hope.
too big a dream to wish even yet, but everything is possible now, isn't it?
It is, it is. And you know, when I was in a flare up last year, I told myself if I ever got better, I want to help those that are really suffering from this disease,
Yeah.
in any way that I can. If it's just advice, if it's just what do I eat all day, and somebody asks me that, and I want to tell them, maybe it'll work for them. If it just helps one person,
Yeah.
that's enough for me. So I've also started an Instagram page called the Colitis Chronicles, which is called Chronicles. But it just goes through my journey, and it's going through my colitis journey, and then I'll start talking about my celery journey, and how I healed. I feel like I'm really healing, so it feels good, and I hope that everybody else can start healing as well.
Thank you very much for chatting to me today, and good luck. Take
Thank
care.
you so much.